What's up, everybody? It's your boy Al, sitting here on a Thursday night. Just going through some of my records. I got crazy records. Finally got this on vinyl. So that's crazy. That's gonna be played. The young people don't know about this young lady right here, Billie Holiday. You know about that? That's another discussion for another day. For my boxing fans out there, what's up, y'all? Wanted to talk about 40 years. It's been 40 years since the fight. You know, the war. Come on, let's talk about it. Thomas Hearns, being the Motor City Cobra, and Sugar Ray Leonard. Today's 40 happy 40th anniversary to you gentlemen, for Sugar Ray, Tommy, for blessing our lives with just ring majesty and greatness. It's been 40 years since that epic fight. The night in 1981, that Sugar Ray Leonard, 32-1, avenging off of his revenge win over Roberto Duran in Omar's fight, stepped into the ring with the 32-0 with 30 knockouts Motor City Cobra, 6'2", 147-pound, Detroit, Michigan, Thomas the Motor City Cobra Hearns. Remember, he was not the hitman yet. In what would become one of the great wars / chess matches / ebb and flow fights of all time. Like, there aren't many fights in history that you can say was a war as well as a chess match, as well as a skill fest, as well as a tide swinger. Like, I think that may be the greatest fight like that in history. Usually when you see guys going to war, like slugging it out, it's a slugfest from start to finish. Usually when you see guys boxing slick, box, skill, it's that from start to finish. But never do you see the two interwoven as beautifully in any fight as you did that night in Caesar's Palace in 1981. Sugar Ray Leonard, who was the darling 1976 gold medalist, deemed golden boy before Oscar de la Hoya, in 1992. Came out of the Olympics, star-studded commercials, 7-0 commercials, him and his son. Took the title from 38-0 Wilfred Benitez, on his way to greatness. Rubs Roberto Duran the wrong way, 71-1 lightweight king, probably best pound fighter in the world. Thought that Ray was getting it too early. Tested him, beat him in a highly contested fight in the first fight. Sent both of them into legendary status, because before that fight, people thought Ray was just cookie cutter. Who could fight? You don't want to go medal if you can't fight. You don't beat Wilfred Benitez, who's 38-0, and stop him unless you can fight. People knew he could fight. But against Duran, they found out he could fight. Even in a loss, they found out, okay, it was a bad strategy, but this boy no punk. He got rocked and he fought. Had Duran hurt at the end of the fight. Duran had to kind of backpedal it out of there. Throwing that little lazy jab at the end of the fight before the bell rang to end the fight. Avenged that fight in the no mask fight. Adjusted his strategy, won. Then came into the ring with, at the time, the most feared fight in boxing, 32-0, Motor City Cobra, Thomas Hearns, who was representing a downtrodden Detroit. He put all their hopes in him. Thomas Hearns was, for lack of a better term, he's a walking weapon. Like, if you could go into the lab and say, I want to create a fighter who has this, you would basically create Thomas Hearns offensively. Like, he was just not fair. We're going to get into that in a second. But they fight in 1981 in the era where the greats fought the greats still. Angelo Dundee prolonged the fight for maybe a year, so Hearns could get a little bit more. After he crushed Cuevas, wanted to find out he wasn't a one-trick pony, so let him defend his title a couple of times, get the name bigger, so we can get this fight. Angelo admitted that. He said, I stalled this fight. That way I did. So for business purposes, he stalled the fight. He ran with Ali. He was Ali's training mentor. He knew the benefits of making the fight big. He knew he had money coming to his pockets from Ali making a fight big. So he knew to do that with Ray and Tommy. So they fight. They come out, and Ray learns something that nobody knew and nobody prepared him to know. That Ray Leonard, one of the smoothest, slickest boxers in history, could be outboxed. And he was being outboxed by a guy who was pretty much known as a puncher. He was 6'2", 80+ inch reach, could move and throw punches, could move his feet and throw punches at the same time. But I don't think people really understand how important it is to be able to do both at the same time. Ray could do it, but not many people could do it with Ray. But here's a guy who can do it, and he's 4 inches taller than you, and his reach is about 10 inches longer. And he punches like a mule kick. He had this shotgun jab that could not be countered over. You know how people slip back and count over the top of your jab, slip, roll the shoulder counter, inside Mayweather style roll. You weren't countering not a Tommy Hearns jab. No. First of all, he was going to hit you from across the street, so you wasn't countering nothing. You follow that in if you want to, and that right going to be waiting on you, so you weren't countering nothing. So what Ray found was that Tommy was a slick boxer. Tommy, in that fight, did something that, as a long fighter, it's imperative that you do, and it's you know your distance. Tommy used to do, it's called measuring. Like he would stick his arm out, and he would put Ray at the end of it, like that's where I need you, right there. I think that's been outlawed now in boxing. I don't think you measure anymore. Ali did it all the time. Tommy used to do it. He was the last to do it. Larry Holmes, measure you, say that's where I want you, right there. You see the end of my jab? That's where you at. Okay, stay right there. Not finna work on you. I'm not finna try to get no closer than this. And in that, he gave the blueprint for long fighters on how to be quick fighters. Remember what Vernon Forrest did against Sugar Shane Mosley. Remember what Antonio Tarver did against Roy Jones. Length. You can keep speed at length, you can beat it. Tommy showed us that. Kept Sugar Ray at length for the first 5.5 rounds. Boxing him aggressively. Walking straight to him and boxing him. Something I've only seen people like James Toney and Sugar Ray Robinson do, like walk straight to you aggressively, trying to hunt you, but at the same time boxing slickly, skillfully. Thomas Hearns was a freak of nature. Sugar Ray Leonard made the adjustments, and he did what I wish fighters today would do. And that's when they see that they're losing the boxing match, just turn it into a war. Say, to hell with this boxing, I'm not finna stand back here and lose round after round. I'm coming to get you. And that's what Sugar Ray did. He walked through the valley of the shadow of death, and he hurt Tommy Hearns. But then, to Tommy's credit, Tommy said, okay, now it's time for me to show you what else I can do. And Tommy basically switched places with Ray. Ray became the stalker. No, he became this long, and doing it at a better clip than Ray, because Tommy could throw a punch and dance away like a quarter block. Like, he was so long, he would just hit Ray. And he had the fight back in his control. After the first half, had it in control. Sugar Ray came back like Sugar Ray does. Someone had his control, but he let Ray get to him again. And Ray ultimately in the 14th round stopped him. A lot of people say, I've heard Emmanuel Stewart say he made a mistake bringing Tommy in so light. 145 for 6'1.5", 6'2" is rather light. A lot of people say he overtrained Tommy for that fight. That's why Tommy couldn't really hurt Ray like he could everybody else. That's why Tommy wilted. But there are a lot of speculations. But these gentlemen showed us so many dimensions, and they spawned a generation of, back before Michael Jordan was in the NBA, guys wanted to box. I remember my dad had boxing gloves he got from wherever he bought from, Sears, Walmart, and we used to stand in the yard and box each other with gloves on. Boxing was that influential. It's not like that anymore. Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler and Roberto Duran were guys who, when you fought as a kid, you said, I want to do that for a living. Kids now watching boxers, they don't want to do that. They just want to make fun of that or laugh at that or watch that and be like, ooh, like kids watch Michael Jordan in the 80s and it's like, I want to do that. They watched Dominic Wilkins, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, said, I wanted to do that. They watched Emmitt Smith. They said, I wanted to do that. Barry Sanders, I wanted to do that. They watched Sugar Ray Leonard. They watched Thomas Hearns. They said, I want to do that. They watched Julio Cesar Chavez, said, I wanted to do that. Watched Pernell Whitaker, said, I wanted to do that. Roy Jones, I wanted to do that. People don't do that anymore. People don't see fighters that they watch and say, I want to do what he does. Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns, for anybody growing up in the 80s, were the guys that made you say, man, I got to get in there and try this thing. Like Mayweather didn't make you want to try it. He just made you want to just watch him do it, and that's it. You didn't watching somebody knock somebody out and just these great ebb and flow fights that inspires you to want to fight. It's not just the greatness of the fighter; it's the greatness of the fights he's fighting. But these two guys, man, they went to war. They did it again years later. Tommy got robbed, but the first fight will always be the fight that is the fight that all most slugfest boxing matches, intelligent boxing matches / slugfest are just by. Couple of things. People have always said, what could Tommy have been had he not have a suspect chin? And I said the answer to that question, he would have been absolutely not fair. Think about Tommy Hearns. Think back to the fight, for those of you old enough to remember, 81. Think about how Ray basically, from a boxing perspective, could do absolutely nothing with him. Like, let's just be clear. As much as I would have loved to have seen Tommy Hearns be able to get hit and just smile at you like Marvin Hagler or like Mike McCallum, these guys who had iron chin, as much as I would have liked to have seen that, let's be honest, y'all. If Tommy Hearns, as he was, would have had that kind of chin, just wouldn't have been fair. Just wouldn't have been fair. God had to say, okay, I gotta take something. I gotta get. Let me make that chin a little. Let me make it when they touch that chin, they can get to you. Cause he had too much. Thomas Hearns had offensively more outside of Sugar Ray Robinson. Tommy Hearns had too much offensively to give him that kind of shit. That's just that jab, that right hand, that quickness, that ability to move was that freakish size that would just make everybody feel like they was fighting somebody throwing rocks from a tree. It was just too much. God had to make it fair for those fellas. He had to give him a suspect chin. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't give that guy iron chin. You can't give Thomas. Come on, man. You can't give Thomas Hearns and not Thomas. It's not like Marvin Yuck, because Marvin wasn't the most athletic. Marvin wasn't, the most naturally gifted. Marvin had to hustle his way to greatness, and he needed that. When he couldn't outbox you, he needed that chin so he could just stand in and out tough you. Ray had that iron chin. He was a complete fighter, but he showed against guys, some guys he could, you could get with him. But he wasn't invincible. He had to use all these other things to try and beat you. Roberto Duran, probably close. Iron chin, great boxer, great puncher, great everything, but still could only go up so far. Still had to work, get guys late, get guys out of there. When he got rose in weight, it became a little bit more fair for these guys. But Tommy Hearns, let me say, Tommy Hearns, this is how unfair it was. Like, Thomas Hearns was a welterweight in 1981. By the mid-80s, he was a light heavyweight. That's going from 147 to 175. And even as a light heavyweight, he was the bigger dude. Like, he was not there. So, yeah, he had to have a suspension. Tommy Hearns, Ray Leonard, 2 top 20 fighters of all time, in my opinion. Some people will put Ray in the top 10. Some people won't because of the much stress of inactivity. But you beat Duran, you beat Hearns, you beat Hagler, you beat Benitez, bro. You up there. 10 to 15 at least. Layoff or no layoff. And I just want to thank both of these gentlemen. I'm glad they're still with us. We lost Marvin earlier. Heartbreaking loss, losing Marvin Hagler this year of the fam for the Four Kings. But Tommy and Ray are still with us. I saw Tommy have a cake, which I thought was beautiful. So Ray at Caesar's Palace, which is beautiful. I'm glad you guys are getting your flowers. while you're still with us. And the 207 Boxing World, we love you. Thank you for what you've given us. All the fights, all the wars. Thank you for what y'all did that night in 1981. If you appreciate what they did, put something in the comment section, hit like, hit subscribe, tell everybody we'll be talking boxing. We're going to talk about this event, the Holyfield debacle, later. I don't really feel like talking about that yet because my feelings still hurt. Somebody let them get in the ring. But y'all holler at your boy Al. Later.